Shalom. This week we read Sedra Metzora, and this Torah comes from Metzora. We've all experienced the feeling of uncomfortability when reading a pasuk, learning a mitzvah, or reading a passage in the Talmud that doesn't conform to modern values. Whether you're against capital punishment and you read about those the Torah demands the court executes, if you're an advocate of the rights of the LGBT community and you read the Torah's characterization of homosexual sex as an abomination, or you're pro-choice in all situations, and learn about the restrictions the Torah places on abortion. It isn't easy studying and abiding by a Torah whose values differ from the community's values you include yourself as a member of today. In this week's Torah portion, we read of another situation that doesn't conform with today's values. This week's Torah portion discusses a disease called tsaras, which is a physical malformation that manifests itself metaphysically after one sins. Tsaras is a divine punishment for many different sins, but chief among them is lashon hara, speaking derogatorily about other people. Tsaras no longer occurs today because while Jews are in a state of exile, as we are today, divine providence doesn't demonstrate itself as much as it did when the Jews were in their homeland, living in a state governed by the laws of the Torah. Tsaras is primarily known as a skin ailment, but actually shows itself on the walls of one's house before appearing on one's skin. The expectation is that when the tsaras appears on the walls of one's house, people will see it and repent from their sin. They would then pull down the walls of their house to repair them from the tsaras. If they didn't repent, the tsaras spread from the walls of their home to the skin of their body, and hopefully that would convince them to repent. In this week's Torah portion, the psukim talk about the tsaras on the walls of the house. It says as follows: when you enter the land of Canaan that I give you as a possession, and I inflict tsaras upon a house in the land you possess, the owner of the house shall come and tell the Kohen, saying, something like a plague of tsaras has appeared upon my house. In his commentary to this pasuk, Rashi relates a fascinating medrash explaining why God chose the walls of the house to inflict with tsaras. Rashi wrote this was an announcement to them that these plagues would occur upon their walls because the Amorites who lived in Canaan before the Jews conquered it concealed treasures of gold in the walls of their homes during the whole 40 years the Israelites were in the wilderness, in order that these might not possess them when they conquered Canaan. And in consequence of the tsaras, the Jews would pull down the walls of their house and discover them. When the Jews conquered Canaan, they would displace or kill the Canaanites who lived in the land at the time of the conquest. They then took possession of their homes and their property for themselves. When they repented from tsaras, they would find even more possessions of the people they conquered, and they would keep those riches as well. There are many people who will read this comment of Rashi about keeping the possessions of those who the Jews conquered and will be uncomfortable with the entire notion of conquering, dispossessing, killing, and keeping the possessions of those the Jews conquered. Modern values of war disfavor this type of warfare, although it is still very common in almost all wars fought today. The Torah demanded the Jews that conquered Canaan, led by Yehoshua, to annihilate all those who lived in Canaan before them. God said that if the Jews didn't eliminate them, the people would act as a snare towards the Jews, constantly bringing them to act in ways that would put them in danger. Although this command isn't consistent with modern values, like many mitzvos that don't fit with contemporary values, its logic is undeniable. Shabbat Shalom.